Hey, welcome back to Mike Simpson Wood Carving. This is part 3 of carving a Santa Christmas ornament. Once again, I welcome you to part 3 of carving a Christmas Santa Claus. And in this part, I'm going to show you is basically how I put a finish on most of my Christmas ornaments that I carve. Some of them I just stain, but most of them I put an acrylic paint on. And as you'll see, I'm kind of alternating between real time and high speed, because there's nothing worse than literally watching paint dry. So speed some of this up so that you can see what I'm doing, but not go through the tedium of watching every single brush stroke in real time. Again, these are acrylic paints, which are water-based, and I typically start out with some pretty bold colors. In this particular carving, I use red for Santa and white, and I also use a little bit of it's a midnight blue. Looks kind of like a black, but it's a midnight blue really. And then also some yellow that I mix in with the red and white whenever I make the skin tone. So all the parts of Santa's outfit are red, and all the fur and his beard, all of that, it's painted white. And I'll come back and I'll put some accenting on those, because just the plain colors leave something to be desired. So it just adds a touch of reality to it whenever you put some shading in. My palette is an old piece of countertop. It's a cutout from a sink, but it makes a good palette. I'm able to paint at the kitchen table without getting paint all over everything. When I worked at Silver Dollar City, I rarely did my own finish, because the arrangement we had with Peter Engler, who was the owner, and he typically would you'd be willing to buy carvings that had not been painted, and he had a couple of full-time staff painters that were really good at what they did. A lady by the name of Betty Turner and another lady by the name of Vivian Gertz. They both were really good at finishes. And I'll tell you what, a good finish on a carving can hide a lot of mistakes, and a bad finish on a carving can really ruin a good carving. So I've had to sort of develop this skill, and I'm not great at putting finishes on, but I would at least say I'm at least mediocre level, and probably some of you may start out with your carvings well ahead of me in this regard. But I'm showing at least how I do it. Feel free to, again, mimic what I do or improve upon it. There may be some other YouTube videos out there that I've been unable to find that teach you how to put a finish on a wood carving. This is the midnight. It's really a dark blue. And just basically doing all the parts of the Santa with the primary colors, and then I guess they're not primary colors if like green's not a primary color, but just the basic opaque color that came right out of the tube. And here what I'm doing is I'm making a little bit of a gray, and I'm going to do some highlights on Santa's beard. It's a little bit stronger than I need, so I'm going to water it down just a smidge. And just put a little more on that. That's the technique that in order to kind of break up the look on his furs, his cuff and his fur on his coat, I take the bristles of the brush and dip them in that dark midnight blue, and what I'm going to do is just kind of make little splotches there, and what that does is that kind of mimics the look of, I think it's an ermine fur hide that has, you know, like the little tufts of dark colored fur. So it gives the fur on Santa's coat a little bit of a better look. And then to arrive at a flesh tone, I typically don't buy a flesh tone. If you can find it, I recommend buying it, but typically don't ever see it anywhere. So I'll take some red, mix it in with a white so that I get a real light pink. Mix that in real well, and then just a smidge of some yellow in there with it. And stir that up real well, and so some red and yellow in with mostly white, and you end up with a flesh tone. This particular carving, his face is so small that I'm just going to paint the entire face a flesh tone. If it were a larger carving and, you know, there were more flesh tone, I would also highlight on that with maybe some rosy cheeks or a rosy nose. But again, the face on this carving is so small that those details won't matter that I don't add that detail. And when I do painting, just like with a carving, I'll typically do multiple carvings all at once. And so when I squirt out a blotch of red, I'll use that entire red blotch up by carving the coats on, you know, multiple Santa ornaments. I'll do a bunch of them at a time. What you see here now, what you didn't see is the dry time in between. I let that flesh tone dry, and then took a different brush and I put just some white dots there where the whites of his eyes will be, and I got a little bit of the white on his face, so I'm going to put that back to flesh tone. So that finishes that. I'm going to darken up his coat just a little bit with some shadowing. And again, that gives some depth to the carving. Instead of just being bright red, it causes it to have a little bit of some depth. So there we are with up to this point. You need some darker eyes. So let's, I'll do that with a marker actually after the white paint is dried. Just darken in the irises. In this case, I'm going to have him looking down and to his left or to our right. And then you flip him over, and everybody likes to have the carving signed, so I typically will sign my carvings. Sometimes I date them, sometimes I don't, but there you see there's a finished carving. And boy, have I got a bunch of painting to do.